deadly candy. It was supposed to be a normal day by the pool, but it ended in tragedy. On the 1st of January in 2002, kids were splashing in the water, parents were lounging on plastic chairs, and a little boy wanted a snack. After swimming at the city recreational center pool, 10-year-old Brian needed a break and something to eat. Dripping wet, he walked out of the pool and onto the tiled floor of the center's lobby. He headed straight for the candy machine, the last in a row of 3 vending machines. 10-year-old Brian then dropped his coins into the slot, expecting the snack he wanted to fall into the tray. But instead of candy, what he got was something nobody could have ever imagined. The moment his hand brushed the vending machine's metal frame, his entire body jolted like he'd been struck by lightning. His tiny muscles contracted instantly, locking his arm in place while electricity tore through his entire body. A nearby parent, seeing the child in distress, rushed forward to pull him away. But the moment he touched Brian, the same current surged through him. He felt his hands sizzle as though they were pressed against a hot stove, the current flowing up his arms, charring his skin. He barely managed to tear himself free, falling to the wet tile floor, screaming in agony. Brian, though, never managed to let go. He simply couldn't. The current had completely locked his muscles in place. When the lifeguards killed the power, his body slumped to the ground like a broken doll. Brian's skin had turned ghostly pale, lips a deep blue, and his eyes were glassy and empty. Rescuers tried CPR, pounding on his chest, but it was too late to save Brian. Investigations made by the police uncovered a disturbing truth. The machine's ground wire was broken, and a severed power cord was wedged underneath, with the lobby's wet floor acting as the perfect conductor. This vending machine was basically a death trap waiting for anyone unlucky enough to touch it. Brian's innocence was betrayed by the sheer carelessness of the city council, and no punishment could ever bring back the young life stolen that day. The cleaning trap. It was a quiet night shift at a food company in Cornwall, England. Linda was a 59-year-old employee doing her routine job cleaning vending machines. She had tidied up this very vending machine thousands of times before, but tonight, the machine had other plans. The machine's critical safety systems had been disabled by the company to make cleaning easier. But this meant that the 150-pound glass door, normally locked in place, was free to swing shut. And when it did, it came down with brutal, merciless force. Linda's shift was almost over. She had just one last task left, scrubbing the vending machine racks. She crouched low, reaching deep inside the narrow slot. Her focus locked on a stubborn streak of dirt. Behind her, the heavy glass door, propped carelessly open, began to move on its hinges. At first, it was a subtle, faint creak. But then, gravity took over. The massive door started moving forward, accelerating with terrifying force. And before Linda could lift her head, the heavy glass door slammed into her skull like a guillotine. The impact was so violent that it fractured her skull instantly, crushing bone and sending blood spraying across the machine. She lay collapsed on the floor, soaked in her own blood, twitching beneath the glow of the vending machine lights. Co-workers rushed to help Linda, but the damage was irreversible. There was no chance of survival. She was pronounced dead before paramedics even arrived on the scene. Her skull was crushed so badly that emergency responders described it as catastrophic trauma. An investigation later revealed the company had knowingly disabled the machine's safety locks just to speed up the cleaning so they could save money. For this horrific negligence, they were ordered to pay 40,000 euros to Linda's family. But no amount of money could undo the horror of a woman's head being destroyed by the very machine she was supposed to be cleaning. The glass explosion. In a small German town, a 16-year-old boy thought he found the perfect way to beat the system. On a late December night, he and his friends huddled around a cigarette vending machine, laughing as he sprayed deodorant into the coin slot. The idea was stupid, but simple. Cause the vending machine to malfunction and force it to release free cigarettes. But instead of free smokes, he set off a bomb. The aerosol mixed with the electrical components, sparking a sudden explosion that ripped through the machine. What witnesses saw next traumatized them forever. The front glass plate shot out like a missile, slamming straight into his face. His skull shattered on impact, fragments of bone piercing into his brain. He collapsed instantly, blood pouring from the gaping wound in his head. His friends screamed in shock, trying to shake him awake, but there was no waking him up after such a hit. His face was completely crushed, skull completely caved in. By the time paramedics arrived, the boy was long gone. What was supposed to be a dumb trick for a pack of cigarettes turned a vending machine into a deadly bomb. The Soda Crush. It was a hot summer afternoon in California, where one man's ordinary trip to a vending machine became a tragedy that made headlines worldwide. In 1995, a 21-year-old college student paused in front of a vending machine on his California campus. All he wanted was a cold can of Coca-Cola to beat the heat. He slid his coins into the slot, pressed the buttons, and waited. He watched eagerly as the Coca-Cola can edged forward, only to get stuck just before the drop. The machine just swallowed his change and didn't drop his can. Annoyed, he did what you and thousands of others have done before. He started rocking the vending machine to get the stuck can out. At first, he gave it a small shake, but the can didn't budge. He tried again, but his effort was still in vain. Irritation turned into anger, so he decided to use his full strength. He grabbed the sides of the vending machine and shook it back and forth with his full weight. And for a second, it actually looked like it was working. But then came the sound that nobody wants to hear, the metal base creaking as the heavy machine began tilting forward. In one horrifying instant, the entire 900-pound vending machine tipped over like a falling wall of steel and glass. He barely had time to grasp what was going on before it slammed down on him with crushing force. His chest caved in on impact, his ribs shattering into shards that punctured straight through his lungs. The force of the impact was so big that several cans burst open on impact, their metal edges slamming into his face. What's even worse is that the can, which was originally stuck in the vending machine, ended up impaling and crushing his eye. His friends ran over, trying desperately to lift the machine, but it wouldn't budge. By the time the university paramedics arrived, there was nothing left to do but pull his lifeless body from beneath the wreckage. News of the tragedy spread quickly, making headlines worldwide. The student's parents later filed lawsuits against Coca-Cola, the vending machine manufacturer, and the university, arguing that no product meant for everyday use should ever be capable of killing someone so easily. The case became a haunting reminder that negligence and design flaws can turn even the most ordinary of moments into death traps.